2 inches, or no, make it 3. From here to there. I can isolate, okay, so there, I want to do, are you filming this? I need to do, can you share it, Dave?
I'll share it with the rest of the class.
Okay, so we have, I make points. Okay. And this looks like a square. Okay, I'm gonna draw like this. This is going to be the ground. Okay. I'm gonna draw a straight line. So you can draw a very light, faint lines of squares. Okay. Now this is the left side elevation for the left side. So I'm gonna draw very, this is not, what pen is this? There you go. So I sort of know already where things are. Like for example, I can faintly, they call it ghosting sometimes. It's like a practice. Okay, so here it's going to be there somehow, and then this is kind of slightly taller, and then it has this thing. It's above the ground, and then you see it's like trying to solve the puzzle. You're piecing things together, little by little. But the way where things are, for example, major things that are the placement of this vertical silver, it's somewhere roughly here. So I'm just gonna do this. Yes, okay. Something like this, and then I see this big thing. I don't know what this is. Okay, this light thing. So it's somewhere roughly here. Okay, something like this, and then is it all the way? It's like it's only a third. So I'm just gonna point out like where the thing is, and it's going to be like this, and then at this shape. So your lines are not meaningful yet. Not yet, you're not meaning the lines. So I'm making some adjustments, right? You're going like this, and then it has something like that. And just look at the shapes. Okay, we're doing orthographic drawing here, huh? And then it has this platform. It has clamps here, somewhere here, maybe, and then another clamp somewhere here. Do you see how the picture is starting to form? Yeah. So you tackle this little by little, area by area, and where things are. So I see the camera roughly away, and then slightly over here. And then somehow, you kind of adjust, and you sort of like, where is it aligning? It's something here, and it's probably roughly around here, right? You see, you kind of need to map it first where things are, and then the look of it is something like that. It's a curve. You see it now? Yeah. Okay. And here, what about this tall thing? Okay, it's like the same thing, but it's, the end point, where is it located? Something like roughly here. So I'm gonna lightly drop the line, but it's not gonna go all the way. It has something like this, and then has this round thing, like a pulley. Okay, it has a string somewhere there going down. Do you get the picture? How this thing is going? And then it has a bars off somewhere and going like that. Okay, now you stay with this scale, okay? When you're sure that everything is where it's supposed to be, okay, I'm not gonna finish this all, but if this is interesting. So it has something like going like bars, like that. You can move around and take a look where exactly those things, little tiny circles there, that bars are going towards there. It has this rectangular thing, and then you have this plate that are thick, and then this thing, that round thing over there.
Yeah.
And then it has this bar. And you make sure that, finally, yung pala, I've made a mistake. It's somehow going like this. It has this, and has that. You kind of need to make sure that everything, it has a foot like something like that little. And then it has this little tiny dial box. How high is this box? Probably roughly here. You extend this a bit. Diba? It has these dials,
Yeah,
these
that
two
one.
dials, yes. It probably is thinner than it ought to be. There's a little tiny gauge or something, right? And then, you need to draw the ground,
Okay.
guys. So it's orthographic drawing. So all of this, like this thing, the tubing has to be a bit more thinner, and it ought to be. It has this L-shaped clamp, ortho, and then everything is like okay. And then you can see the clamps down there. Has these tubings running here. No, I'm practically almost finishing this.
Yeah.
And all the other details, but make sure the elements are in the right places, and it's proportional, and it's like knowing this is about 2/3 of the way, it's half the way, mga ganun. 1/5, maybe probably 1/5 of the way, mga ganun. It's all about proportions and being patient. I want this directly, no penciling. Probably the inking is like really light first, and then when you're sure, like this one, for example, I'm sure that this is the shape of this thing that is hanging over there, and then you do the darker, more intense lines
With the point eight.
with a 0.8.
0.8?
No, not really 0.8. More like it's just commit to the line. Commit meaning just draw it out with a 0.3. Okay. For this very small, I want to see those guidelines. These little faint lines. This is ghost lines. That's fine with me. Alright. And then you move on to the construction of. And then is that a square? Yes. 1.5, right?
Yes.
The front elevation. So you kind of ghost it out, and you do the same thing again. Okay? And then the third is like the other side.
Oh, okay.
You continue all the way here.
Okay.
Okay? The third one I suggest that you do again these points to make them look for a square. Then look at the other side.
Okay.
Where things are. It's like this thing is here. It's supposed to mirror like something here. And the camera has to be like that again, and that it won't be seen. So that the level is the same. You can just transpose this to project it to where it is. All right. Questions so far?
Sir,
Oh, this. Yes, exactly.
Sir, for example, like the front view of this,
Yes.
the details, should it be like super or no, not really? Like for example, the bar there with the
Yes, you could see like for example, the bar is something like it looks like that. It's that thin, but it's like simplify it.
Oh, okay.
Going like this.
Okay, it's not like the one the student did with
Oh,
the...
that's this is like a whole page for that.
Okay.
Exploded. But eventually, what we're gonna do here is we have these volumes, right? So you're gonna do this entirely in perspective.
Oh. Okay.
And then, like, okay, you know for a fact that this is an hour
The 40.
and a half. And this is where your eye level is. If you're standing, it's something here.
So sir,
And
it's
it's
gonna be
like-
like the table,
Yes.
except it's this machine.
Halfway, this is your eye level. Just halfway there, the square. Something like this, okay? So, roughly, okay, so I'm just telling you there, for the assignment part, eventually you will do this. First, I want to see you finish this, and this is what you're going to be submitting
Now po? Or...
today,
Okay.
at least. Now I'm explaining to you what you're going to do in terms of where you're going to be sitting. How you first create the box, very faint box. right? And then when you sit down, you will draw all of this, how you see it. See, you already a reference of the orthographic drawings where things are. So it's
Okay.
roughly here, it's like where's that camera?
Keep saying
I know. If the easiest is this. Okay, can we come over here? Right. Can I have a full? Is you know the proportions already. So here, the there. That's the pole. You do a rough in first, and then this one is something like that. Here, where is the halfway? And then here, this is if this is where the pole is, guys. Where the pole is, and then by visually, even just by looking here itself, you can relate all of these things and how high this is and how thin that is, where it is just projecting. That's behind this. This is the. I'm doing it so roughly, okay? I'm not just to explain to you.
So it's like what we did in the table.
Yes, but again, the perspective drawing version of this, you can just cheat and just see and look how.
So without the measurement of
Oh,
the
pwede
48.
rin. Pero
Okay.
I'm doing just a freehand. But I'm doing this as in a box. The box is like imagining that this is your visual, and then this is for shortening, and this is like the square in space, right? Another square in space is this plane. Okay, it's up to you to judge if the important question is, does this look like a square in perspective? Maybe not. Maybe I need to kind of adjust this a bit thinner. Yes, that looks more like a square in perspective. Now, what about here on this side? Does this look like two squares on top of each other or in perspective? Diba? If yes, and then you can just decipher what is the half side of it, and you have basically there's the camera where things are and roughly, but this size. This is for the assignment part. You need to finish this very diligently and patiently in all the details. But today we're doing the orthographic drawing.